Welcome to the program. This is Shelter in the Time of Storm. I'm glad that you could be with us today. We're in West Texas today, the town of West Texas. You probably saw about West Texas in the news. They had a terrible explosion here about a month ago on April the 17th. And we are here looking at the damage and interviewing some of the folks in the church here in West. And today I have with me Ernie Albrecht, who is the preacher for the local congregation, the West Church of Christ. And he's agreed to talk with us, and so we're going to introduce you to him. Ernie, glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to have you. Sorry for what's happened to your town. We've seen a little bit of the damage, and it's just unbelievable. And Ernie, your house was severely damaged. Was it a total loss?
Yes, it was. Thankfully, though, none of us were home except for my brother at the time, and that's a blessing in itself.
Now, the explosion actually happened during Bible study, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 7:53 is when the explosion took place.
On a Wednesday evening.
Wednesday evening.
Yes. About your personal belongings, were you able to salvage your personal belongings?
You know what was amazing is that at first we were told that we would never be able to go into the house at all. And so we had a couple fire departments that had come down to help assist West. And they said, well, we would like to, my wife was first associated with one of the fire departments. And he's like, can we help you in any way? And I wasn't wearing my wedding ring, so I was in big trouble. And my wife wanted the wedding album. And so for 10, 11 days, I think it was, that we weren't able to get anything. But these firefighters from Waxahachie and Cedar Hill, they went in and retrieved my wedding ring, our wedding album, and then my oldest daughter has a stuffed animal horse named Commonwealth, and he retrieved that for her as well, and they were just a big blessing to us.
So you're in debt to them for a long time, aren't you?
Yeah.
Tell us, how has this impacted you personally and your family?
You know, in all of this, I can only imagine, I have been amazed just seeing Jesus and his people. I guess that's the best way of seeing it. At first, we had no idea what was going to happen, what we were going to do. Kids were crying that night, and what we saw, as we drove down that street, we're seeing people bloodied from head to toe and houses just in shambles. Leaving that Wednesday night Bible class, and in our minds, we just assumed everything was lost and everything's just start all over. And my kids were crying hysterically, and it was pretty horrific the first day.
I'm sure.
And then you saw people just coming out and loving. And it didn't matter where from, and it didn't matter, they just wanted to love on you. And seeing the brotherhood without, just come together, I guess is the best way to say it. We've got a lot of brethren that are just amazing, and that from time to time there's little squabbles. But we've got, I think, when I look at it, the church is full of people of Jesus' heart.
That's what it ought to be.
That's right. That's right.
You're married. You mentioned one daughter. How many children?
I have 3 girls and a son, and they are all soccer players.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And so very blessed.
So how are things as far as day-to-day activities here in town? Are they reasonably back to normal?
My kids ended up, they were going to Rappaport Academy there in Waco. And so the kids, it happened on a Wednesday, they went to school back on Thursday. They didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
And so my kids have not missed any school, continued. We wanted everything to be in a continual routine because we felt like that was best for them.
Sure.
And it has helped. In fact, it's been amazing. Rappaport Academy, which is part of the Waco School District, they're a charter school. Just, again, the love that you see family in so many different aspects, and that was one of the kids, is seeing how great of a school that my kids really attend.
Wow.
And it was you can't help but to express how everybody just came together. And there are so many people that are continuing to hurt out here, but yet there's always hope. There's always hope.
Well, and I appreciate your attitude that you're seeing the glass as half full rather than half empty.
Yeah.
How many families, do you know how many families are out of their homes? How many families are like you and just...
In the community here? Yeah, my understanding, I know that I think they count around 75 homes, but I'm not sure on that number. I really am not.
How many lived in the apartment building here behind us?
I'm not sure on that either, yeah.
And how long have you been here in West?
In October, it would have been 3 years.
And you work at nights as a nurse at the local nursing home?
Yeah, just right across the nursing home, right across from this apartment complex is the nursing home. And my station was right across this little street here. So, and maybe we'll get to show you that.
Okay, and your home was right here within
this is Reagan Street, and then it's Davis, and then Jane, and we live on Jane.
So you're just 2 blocks away?
Yeah.
Yes, well. How are your children dealing with losing their possessions and their personal little things that...
I think that, I jokingly say this because they've been so blessed in so many ways. I think that they have more possessions, which we were thinking, it'd be great to clean everything out, get a fresh start. But it was like, we've got so much stuff, and going through all this stuff, it was just, like I said, we were inundated with so much love and people caring about us. We didn't know what to do with all this stuff. And so we were just so blessed in that regard. Words can't express how thankful we are to the Brotherhood, as well as to the community and the area communities. It's just been great in that regard. There's always, I guess, a good story, or at least for me, is to think, when Elijah got down and he's all by himself, I've got a few other brethren that are out there that have not kneeled or bowed the knee to the image of Baal. And if we can always remember, there's always hope. God created us a brotherhood for a reason, and to support us and to help us in these time of needs. And like I said early on, we didn't have any answers, but God provided all of those.
There were 14 that lost their lives that night in the explosion. How have you been able to be of service in the community as far as a gospel preacher and these families? Have you been able to reach out to any of those families?
Oh yeah, the outreach continues, and I know that the eldership here, as bad as in health as they are, and the travesty that has gone on with Brother Adair, I know that the church, through all the donations and all the assistance, that they continue to help people physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And my feelings is that those all together work to help further the gospel. And I really believe that if it wasn't for good, strong leadership in the church and a supportive brotherhood that is there to make sure that the gospel is spread and the love of Christ is seen in people, that we would be in a heap of trouble right now. Oh, yeah. But it's been an ongoing consistency of the elders here, I think, that has really helped to show the light of Christ.
That's great. That's great. And they are still serving meals at the church building.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner to everybody. Doesn't matter where you're from. If you're hungry, if you're a worker, if you live here, we've got food.
I saw a number, over 8,000 meals have been served. That was a number I saw last week, so it's probably upwards of...
Yeah, Mike Bumgartner is a great minister. He's got a great ministry that he's part of, and he continues to work up in Cleburne, Granbury, and in Moore, Oklahoma.
Right.
And he's been with us, ever since this thing went down, and he does a great job with a need that when other people are pulling out, especially in the first week or 2 weeks,
right,
we still got Mike here, and
right,
he continues to help facilitate giving out food, and he continues to use volunteers in a great way to get community out. We've been out up and down these streets so many times, And volunteers have to deliver food to people.
Right, because it's been about 5 weeks or so now,
Yeah.
I think. And Mike is with Disaster Assistance, I think is the
Yeah.
name of their group.
Yes.
And they are supported and operated by the Churches of Christ.
That's right.
And they're a great, I think they're kind of based sort of here in Texas, I believe.
That's right.
But they do a great work.
Oh,
it really
absolutely.
is. Yeah, how about your wife? You know, we men are less home-oriented typically, not always, but typically. The women are more the home maker, the home keeper, and so forth. How has this impacted your wife?
My wife, she's a great lady.
I'm sure.
She is one of those quiet people that try not to show that anything's getting to her, but she's had, especially early on, crying episodes and things like that. But crying is not necessarily a sign of weakness. It can be a great sign of strength.
Absolutely.
And our culture teaches us the opposite sometimes.
Yeah. Especially in men. I suspect men shed tears too.
That's right.
And I contend it takes a real man to cry.
That's right.
It takes a real man to cry.
It's interesting, when we're young, we cry. When we're in the middle of our life, we're like, oh, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
But when we're later on and we've matured, we said, hey, you know what? God's given us these emotions to express and to allow those things. So it's really healthy. But anyways, for my wife, I think she's in good spirits. In fact, we've been so blessed in so many ways. It's like, we don't know. I think part of it is, I think she cries over the goodness that we don't deserve. And we just can't fathom that, you know, other people may be hurting worse than we are, or we look at, you know, the devastation. This kind of situation almost brings me to think about, you know, how I want to be greater, in greater service into the church and how to help out people. You know, I'm hiding out in little town of West Texas. And I would have never thought this happened to me. I'm bivocational. I'm here because the church takes care of my needs, but I have a family of 6, and they allow me to work in an additional capacity to help support my family.
Right.
And we were thinking, a small little church for our family to be raised up into, and I don't like politics. I don't like church politics. I don't like anything like that. I just want to be a Christian. I want to live right. I want my family to be raised right. But there's no hiding from what God wants you to do. And you can run, but He's going to find you. And so, and maybe this is just a great opportunity to do some more service. And I've seen just God in a non-verbal sense, but saying, hey, Ernie, I've got some more for you.
And you will, particularly as a gospel preacher. I know from my own experience, it changes you, it affects you, but it'll give you a compassion for your work for the future that you probably didn't even realize you had. And there will be opportunities for you to teach and use your sadness and your struggles for other people. And that's the way the Lord uses us and teaches us and helps us grow. And I'm just impressed with you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to get to meet you. And anything at all you would like to anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
You know, I guess, and I know it's so hard, and it's so easy to blame God, and it's so easy to look at all these problems and situations, and I think the honest answer is we don't know exactly why all these problems and all these things happen. But I know this: we serve a great God, a loving God. This is a very imperfect world. Sin entered into it, and unfortunately, we serve the consequences of all of this.
That's right. You're right.
But there is a better world, a new earth and a new heaven, and it's so hard, especially in the middle of it. But there is something better over there. There is something, and God gives us hope. And it doesn't matter how hard it is, but if we put our faith and trust in Him, He'll always see us through it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, we are, generally speaking, we are so quick to blame God. Lord, why me? And you know, Job did the same thing. in the news about the tornadoes in Moore in particular, the several children that passed away in that horrible disaster. And people are quick to say, why did God let those children die? And just exactly what you said, sin's influence, Satan's influence in our world. If you go back and you read again the book of Job, and when it all began, and God said to Satan, here's my man, try him. And you remember what happened. He lost all of his children at one time in a whirlwind.
Yeah.
We'd call it a tornado. And that wasn't the work of God. That was the work of Satan.
Yeah.
And how those things work and how Satan accomplishes. But I think you're exactly right. That I personally believe that everything bad in life is the result of the influence of Satan. Whether it's the cumulative effect of generations, we have diabetes.
The impact of a fallen world affects
Absolutely.
us and will continue to affect
Absolutely.
us until Jesus' return.
Exactly, and in a physical world, and that's where Satan lives and works. And the cumulative effect, whether it's in diabetes or cancer or whatever, that person personally may not have done anything that would have brought on that disease, but the cumulative effect of man's poor choices from Adam and Eve to this very moment.
Yeah.
Well,
and I guess the story of Job just shows us, though, and through all these trials, and sometimes it's just trial heap upon trial heap upon trial heap. But if anything, it always shows us by the end, Job was blessed more than anybody else.
Absolutely.
And I think God will, as long as we're faithful and we're trusting, and we might be praying right after and we got another problem on our hands.
Absolutely.
But in the end, if we are found faithful, we have a faithful judge that takes care of all of our needs and will see us through everything.
Absolutely. Well, Ernie, thank you for taking the time. We're going to do some more with you and I think with your family. I don't. Is that something we need to be? There are no tornadoes coming, are there? We're going to get to go to your home and see that and where you work, and we'll spend some time with the church in West, and we're just grateful that you could be with us.
Well, I appreciate the
opportunity. It's a treat
opportunity.
to get to meet you. God bless you and your work and the church here, and He's going to do great things in West.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.